Hey guys, welcome to Open Heart Conversations. I'm your host, Chinwe Hart, and today I have my girl Shavonne Gray here with me. Me and Shavonne actually met at Texas Women's University back in what, 20?
2012,
Yeah,
2013, maybe.
yeah, crazy, crazy, crazy. So it's a full circle moment to have her here on my couch and just now, what are we, 10, 11, 12 years later?
Yeah.
And life has lifed.
Life has life, but you're doing big things. And
Now,
so I'm excited. Yes, I've been first of all, I've just been watching your stuff literally since undergrad and just to watch you blossom into the woman that you are now, but the work that you're doing that's very, very important. I just I
man,
admire
thank
it.
you.
So
Oh
I'm just
man,
glad to be here
thank
for
you.
real.
It's nothing but God. It's nothing but God. But I was blessed with the opportunity to
Yeah,
talk to you prior to us setting up the camera and now bringing it on camera and just
exactly.
hear about your journey, your life, and just just talk to us. Just
Yes. So, I mean, I really wanted to share a most recent story. It feels like some time has passed because it has actually been 6 years since this story has happened, but it really has shaped me into one, the woman that I am today, but the faith that I have today.
mm,
And so, my goal and my hope for this story is for it to touch someone who is maybe in a space where they're wanting to step out on faith,
mm,
and they're an overthinker like me,
mm,
and wanting to hear and feel God in all of the details. I feel like this is a story where like God was in all of the details and it was very, very clear. And so my hope and encouragement is that someone can hear this story and and almost validate that they're not overthinking
mm.
because God really is in all of the details.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So should I jump in?
Let's jump in.
Okay, let's jump in. Everybody buckle up. So first of all, I just recently moved back to Texas, as Shinwei know, October 2025. And I moved to the DMV. I call it DC because I feel like that's usually
The
the
term.
place that people kind of know and kind of gravitate to. But I moved to the DMV um, in 2020 um, on complete faith. And so that journey was a wild one, but it's reminded me that I can continue to take really big steps and move in faith and know that God is going to really be that my safety net. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can always bet on him. So um just a quick backstory. My very first time going to the actual DC was in June, or actually the very end of May, because I went for Memorial Day weekend into June 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I went with a friend, and prior to that trip, I knew nothing about the city. I knew nothing about the district. I didn't know anybody that stayed there. I just had this feeling of like, yeah, like I just want to travel and go to a place that I've never gone before. So why not the nation's capital? And the weirdest thing happened when I got there. My friend and I got off the plane, and I just remember telling her, I think I'm gonna move here. And she was like, girl, Earth to Vaughn, like we haven't done anything. We're still at the airport, and you're already saying that you're gonna move here. And I said, absolutely.
And what was it that triggered that thought or that feeling?
Well, the weird thing was, it's because it wasn't super hot at the end of May.
Yeah.
So that year, and I will never forget that year, we were scorching here in Texas.
Mm.
We were already in the hundreds. And so I
Yeah.
remember getting there and it was a breeze. And I said, oh, I can do this. So that was kind of, me jumping into like, I could move here, but it turned into an actual move.
Yeah.
But I think even just that joke planted a seed. And what
Mm-hmm.
turned into a joke turned into, well, maybe I can actually move here. And so that week while my friend and I were there, I actually just started asking questions and doing my research on the DMV in general. I'm learning about Maryland. I'm learning about Virginia. I'm learning about DC. Which place can I live? So if this actually is a thing, I at least can have a little bit of knowledge of what place I feel like might suit me the best and where I was in my agent stage. Um, so I'll just give that backstory that my first time going to DC was 2018. So after that trip, I feel like honestly, I say it was life changing because it really did move me to start praying about something that was far from prayers at like
Mm-hmm.
any prayers I've ever had. I've never prayed about moving out of my hometown But it was very interesting that I had the desire to leave,
Mm.
but I didn't know where I wanted to go. And I feel like that trip just opened the doors to maybe this is the place that you should go. So my friend and I came back to Texas after being there for about a week, after me doing my research and enjoying the city. And I just remember coming home and I was a bit discouraged. I'm not going to lie. I was a bit discouraged because while I had the desire to, like, I'm a little curious to go, like, I kind of have a desire to move, but I don't think God is going to allow me to do that. That's not going to be a part
Mm.
of his will or my story. So, you know what? I'm not even going to ask about it. That's going to break my heart if I ask. Like, pray for what? Like, that's not going to happen. And so a month later, so now this is mid June, I go to a conference in Atlanta. It was a Christian conference in Atlanta. And I happened to meet someone at that conference who was from Maryland. And at the time, it never clicked to me that she was from Maryland because my mind wasn't, I wasn't in a space where I was actually praying about moving there. I was still discouraged. So the her location never clicked to me that, like, oh my gosh, she's a person from Maryland.
Mm.
But in that moment, she and I connected, all because she said she was ashy and I just handed her some lotion. And she was
That
like,
was crazy.
hello. And I was like, oh girl, I'm a girl's girl. So if you're ashy, girl, get
Let's rectify
yeah,
this.
let's fix it and just give me my lotion back. And so
Yeah.
that's what happened. And so it sparked a conversation. So after that segment of the conference, we sat, we chat. That's how I found out she was from Maryland. I told her, I lived here in Dallas. And she just basically said she always wanted to come to Dallas. And at the time, I was going to this church, and it was a well-known church. And she was like, I love that pastor. I really want to go, sit under him and just hear his teaching in person. So I was like, girl, well, let's exchange numbers. And so that's how that story began with that friendship. So she and I exchanged numbers. And at that time, I was doing YouTube and
Mm.
she was too.
Mm-hmm.
So she invited me to be on her channel, but just from obviously miles away. She was like, hey, we could do a Zoom. But I really want you to talk about, I don't even remember the topic, but she just gave me a topic to talk about. And we recorded and pressed send, and she uploaded it to her YouTube channel and had me as like a collaborator on
Wow.
her channel for whatever segment we were talking about. But I think again that opened the door to more rapport with her
Mm-hmm.
because if we fast forward to that conference was in June. If we fast forward to um, the fall, I want to say maybe September is when it was still on my heart because I still kept just getting little evidence of DC and places that I would go. Like I was telling Chinwe before we started recording, like I would go to cookouts, I would go hang out, and I'm bumping into people who are like, "Oh, I'm from Georgetown," which is a little not a city, but like a little neighborhood in
Mm-hmm.
DC. So they're like, "Oh, I'm from Georgetown. I'm from Baltimore. I'm from this." And I'm like, "Why is everyone, it appears everyone that I'm bumping into this summer, why are they from the DMV, like this place that I just came back from that I'm just kind of like, I kind of want to pray about it, but I don't have the faith to pray into it."
And what was
Um,
stopping you from just asking God about it?
I think I just didn't believe that he could do it for me.
And why? Like what was
That's a
what
good
was in
question.
the DMV that you were like, no, it's not going to happen?
I don't even think it was anything about the DMV. I think I just haven't had that experience with God to watch him blow my mind like that. So I didn't think that
Mm.
it could happen for me. And so I think it was truly just my lack of faith,
Mm.
in me praying the big, scary prayers. I
Mm.
think some of the prayers that I have prayed up until that time might have been big for that moment, but it wasn't that big to move across the country.
Mm.
And so I think I just didn't believe that he would allow me to do that. Like, I believe that he had a path set for me that was just Texas. But I think it's so funny because, again, I had this desire to move, and it was so much that was just pointing to DC that it just went over my head.
Mm.
um, but again, I was making connections with people that lived there. And so I said, okay, let me maybe just increase my faith a bit and at least just ask.
Mm.
Because at least if he says no, I'll have my answer
Mm.
and I don't have to keep wondering. So I want to say this is now September. I'm praying, and not every day, but every now and then I'll just throw up a prayer like, Lord, I kind of would like to be there. So if you want to open the door for me, open it. Um, And then it got to a point where I said, okay, if I am going to pray about this, I got to pray about it. And
Mm-hmm.
so it turned into, even if it wasn't a prayer every day, it turned into more of a stronger, faithful prayer
Mm-hmm.
versus like a faithless prayer. And so one day I am in my quiet time, it's 6 a.m. I would never forget this day. I'm in my quiet time. I'm praying. Specific. I prayed for everything, but that moment specifically, I said, "Okay, Lord, like, here's my request again about going to the DMV for whatever reason. It's still in my heart. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
what does this mean? Give me signs that I'm supposed to be there." And the person, the woman, the young woman that I connected with from that conference in Atlanta, literally text me.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't see it until I was after my out of my quiet time. So I think now it's like 7:30. I look at my phone and she sends me a text message that reads, "Whenever you get here, let's connect." It was something like that. And it didn't say anything else. It just said, "When you get here, let's connect." And I said, "When I get here?" I was like, "What does she mean by that?" And then I said, "Well, maybe I should just ask her, what does she mean by that?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean, like when I get here?" And she was like, "Yeah, just whenever you come, let's connect." And I'm like, why is she saying whenever I come, as if she knows that I'm about to be
Mm-hmm.
there, when she knew nothing about my desire to go there? So I said, "Well, okay, I think that I can maybe share this dream with her." I didn't know her at all,
Mm-hmm.
other than that moment at the conference. But because it was a Christian conference, I'm like, "Okay, girl, like hopefully we're on like one accord, and I can share,
Yeah.
this desire." So I said, "Hey, I've actually been thinking about moving there, so I think it's interesting that you use these words."
Mm.
And she was like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." And I said, "I'm still in grad school. I don't graduate for another year because again, this is 2018. So I like October 2018. So I still had a full year. I didn't graduate till
Mm-hmm.
December 2019. I said, I'm still in grad school, but um, I am a therapist. I'm going to be a therapist. And I am just trying to do some research on like what area is the best area. What could my salary be? Like, I don't know if you can give me an idea of just the cost of living there." And she said, "I'm a therapist."
Wow.
And I said, "What?" She was like, "Yeah, I'm a therapist." She was like, "I'm actually sitting for my boards right now." And she was like, "So I've been in the field, and this is what I am making as of now, living in Maryland." And I was like, wow. And so I don't remember what else happened in that conversation, but I just remember feeling very encouraged after that
Mm-hmm.
conversation. So I said, "Okay, Lord." So I took that as evidence number one of just like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, maybe this is a sign, but maybe it's just a coincidence.
Yep.
But of course, I have learned since then that there's no coincidences with God.
Nope.
But at that time, I was like, this is just a coincidence. So then fast forward, still within that same year, maybe it's like mid October, November, Decemberish. I am a podcast girly, so I love being on this podcast. I am a
I
podcast
love
girly.
that.
I love listening to things that I can learn, entertainment, but things that can help my spiritual walk, things that can help professional development,
Mm-hmm.
self help, whatever. I'm going to tune in if I feel like I align with it. And so it was very interesting that all of the people that I was listening to, not all, but at least three of the people, some of the main podcasts that I had on rotation, all happened to be from DC. And the funny thing
Ooh.
is, as I was listening to them, I had listened to them maybe for a year. I don't think that they ever revealed their location. And if they did, maybe it just went over my head.
Wow.
But for whatever reason, within that October, November span, all of them start talking about, yeah, like living in DC or living in the DMV. And I'm like, wait, my favorite podcaster lives here. Three of them. Y'all
Wow.
all live out there. So I said, okay, I will never forget. It's December 2018. I said, all right, Lord. I said, now I'm starting to feel like your hand is on this.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is what you want me to do, I need you to tell me how to get my finances together. I need you to tell me, give me the blueprint,
Yeah.
because I've never done anything like this before. And I need to go from just praying about it to actually preparing. So, what
Mm-hmm.
does that look like? And that Sunday that I went to church, my pastor preached on plan, prepare, save. And I said,
Right there.
I literally was sitting there like, hmm. And when I say I almost burnt a hole in that notebook writing so hard, because he was just giving me the blueprint that I asked for.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that was the sign that I needed. So January 2019 came, and I said, I am going to use this entire year to save, because I believe that once I finish grad school in December 2019, I'm moving. I'm going, like I'm starting my career there.
Mm.
And so By then, my faith had enlarged and jumped, whatever. It has
Increase,
increased,
maximized.
magnified, because I was like, let's go. Like, I just got this word from the Lord. My pastor just preached this, so this is happening. So I was declaring and decreeing in 2019
Mm,
that that was what was going to happen. So I used basically that entire year to save. And of course, I had my hiccups in 2019. I was in grad school. I was working full time. I was finishing up classes and about to start my clinicals because I'm a therapist. And in our field, you have to go through like
mm,
um, internships, and you have to go through what they call practicum just to have face to face hours. Like, you have to go in the field and start doing the work so you can have some kind of experience before
mm-hmm.
you jump and sit for board exams. So I already knew that that time was about to be really crazy, and I didn't have a plan for what that was going to look like as far as work and balance and all of the things that I had to balance. But I said I'll worry about it when I get there. So I remember it was a few hiccups along the way. Like, I was so stressed from balancing it all. I got sick for 3 months. I
Mm.
took myself to the hospital, and I learned that the stress was basically
Yep.
breaking my body down. I had
Yep.
insomnia for 7 days. I was having anxiety attacks in my sleep. And they were like, we need you to rest. And I said, what is rest? Like,
Listen.
I have to work full time. Who's paying these bills? Like, I can't not work. And they said, well, can you at least take off of work for extended period of time? My professors didn't let me take off from
Wow.
school, but work allowed me to take off a week. And I didn't even want to do that because I had a trip planned to go back to DC to now start looking at apartments. Again, I'm moving in faith. So I
Yeah.
said, okay, summer. I think I went back in again that end of May, June time period. I said, I think I'm going to go back again and start looking at apartments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I didn't want to take off again when
Mm-hmm.
I knew I had this big trip coming
Yeah.
up. Um, but my job was flexible. They allowed me to take off. Did I actually rest? Barely, because again, I had insomnia. So I was still up, but I didn't have the stress of being at work. But I mean, I still had to do schoolwork. So I don't know how much it helped, but maybe it did
Mm-hmm.
something. Um but yeah, I had hiccups along the way. And so basically I get there, I get to DC that summer. I invited my whole family to go with me. We had an amazing trip. Because my biggest thing is I want my family to know where I'm going to be residing if this is it. And I trusted their judgment so much too that if I knew it was a bad decision, I think maybe I was like waiting for the like, don't move here.
Yeah.
But they were all on board. They were like, this is beautiful. Like, this is the nation's capital.
Wow.
Like, do it. And I'm like, okay, bet. I mean, good, because I was gonna do it anyway. But I'm glad that I have your blessing to go. Um, and it's so funny because, we get there in June, and I connect with the girl that I met from the conference, the same person who texted me telling me, when you get here, let's connect. So I'm like, well, bet I'm here, so let's connect. Like,
Yeah.
that dream or whatever you prophesied to me saying that I was going to be there, I'm here. Let's connect.
Exactly.
So she and I went to dinner. I invited her to dinner with my family. And I remember she was parking her car. She was struggling with finding a parking spot. So I said, girl, let me come out and just get in your car, and I can help you like find a spot, or at least show you where we parked. And during that time, I said, hey, do you remember that conversation that we were having in October when you texted me randomly and told me to connect with you once I got here? And she was like, no. I said, no, yeah, like, you literally told me, text me when you get here, or like, let's connect. And she was like, I don't remember that. And I said, you know what? And immediately I knew. I said, it's okay, because that was for me.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I needed. The Holy Spirit had that word for me,
Mm.
and you don't even remember it.
That's crazy.
And she was like, I said all that. I said, yeah. I said, but it's okay. And I said, because that was a word for me. I was in my prayer time. She was like, you were in your prayer time when I sent that? And I said, yeah,
At 6 in the morning.
at 6 in the morning. Mhm. And so I said, it's okay. I said, that was just how I like to call it, a God wink of like, you're on the
Mm-hmm.
right track. And I said, okay, thank you. Um, and so, yeah, we finished up dinner, and we were basically just prepping, like, okay, I guess the next time I see you, I'm going to be living here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, I finished the year off. Well, actually, I don't even want to move through that too quickly. Um, because I want to make sure I highlight even just applying for jobs and what that looked like,
Mhm.
because that was a whole nother learning curve there. But as I was prepping to transition, my lease was up in September of that year. And of course, I'm still paying off some of the medical bills because I told you I had to go to the hospital.
Mhm.
So now I'm like paying hospital bill, rent, all of the things. I didn't have a car note, thank God, but just paying all of my overhead, paying for grad school out of pocket. And I'm like, okay, I'm in the home stretch. I'm in my last semester. I need to finish this. But I remember I was so stressed. And I thank God for parents who are discerning.
Mhm.
We went to dinner one day and they were just looking at me and they were like, something is wrong. And I was like, I'm exhausted and I am very stressed and I don't know how I am going to handle clinicals and do all of this, work full time. And my dad said, just quit. I said, I
Mm.
can't quit my job because if I quit, then I'm no longer saving for DC. Who's paying my rent? Who's paying my medical bills? And shout out to parents who just care and who have the means to do.
Yeah.
My dad said, well, I'll pay for it all. I'll pay until your lease is up. So he paid my August and September rent. He paid for the rest of my hospital bill, and he allowed me to transition into their home. So was it easy moving back home? No, but I was like, okay, girl, like it's only 3 months. Suck it up, Buttercup. Like you just gonna be home for a short little stint. And so, fast forward to December, I graduated, and during that time, I said, well, let me start applying to jobs because now I got my master's in clinical mental health counseling, so the doors are going to fly open.
Yeah.
The doors did not fly open. Whew. The doors did not fly open. I said, I thought y'all wanted somebody with a master's. Hello. The doors did not fly open. I did get interviews. I was interviewing for a few places in DC. I interviewed for a few places in Maryland, and the doors were not open.
Ooh.
And I said, okay, Lord, well, you told me to go out there, but yet you're not allowing these doors to open. I'm having interviews. Excuse me. These people are talking about how they love my experience, but I think they just didn't want to take a bet on me because they didn't want to have to pay relocation fees because I was going to ask for that. I don't think they wanted to pay relocation fees, or I think they just didn't want to take that risk of like hiring someone and then I'm like, JK, I'm not moving anymore.
Mhm.
So, from a business standpoint, I can understand that. Um, but at that time, it was frustrating and it was
Yeah.
discouraging because I'm like, okay, maybe this is not supposed to happen, or at least it's not happening on my timeline.
Mhm.
So if it's not happening on my timeline, then what am I supposed to do? Because I was planning on pivoting right when I graduated. So if that's not to happen, then what am I supposed to do in this time before
Mhm.
I go there, Lord? And you want to know what he said, Chinwe?
Tell me what he said.
He said, just go. I said, wait a minute. I said,
That's
I
that
didn't,
blind faith.
I didn't say, I don't want to do that, Lord. He said, just go. I said, nah, that was not a part of my plan. I said, I need a job. That was not a part of my plan. Like, I don't know anyone out there other than the one young lady I connected with. I don't have family out there. No safety net. I can just go. He said, well, you saved up all this money. No, but that was supposed to still just be
Like, hold on, hold on, hold
cushion.
on.
But like, no. And he said, he just kept saying, just go, just go, just go. So January 2020 comes,
Mhm.
and my church at the time will always do a corporate fast at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
So I said, well, let me fast. I said, because if you want me to go, I still just need clarity around what that looks like. Um, and so I fasted, and he just kept saying go. And I think at the time I was reading like spiritual books. I was just really in tune. I was trying to shut off all the noise and I just kept everything spiritual between books, worship. Can I hear and feel you in everything that I'm a part of? I was looking for evidence. um and I just remember he said pick a date.
Ooh.
And I said pick a date, like I don't.
You gonna pick next year?
Yeah, I was like, I can't just pick a date. Like, Lord, I need you with me. Like, I know you told Abraham to go. I'm not Abraham. Like, now you're telling me to pick a date. Like, I don't know what date to pick. He said, just pick a date. So I just remember my parents just kept saying, okay, well, when are you leaving? When are you leaving? Like, your stuff is in the storage, your stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, just let us know because whatever you pick, we're going to go with you. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm stressed. So I just put a date on the calendar. I said, okay, January 29th. I don't know, like the end of the month. And A few weeks later, I was packing up my car to leave. I didn't have anything else. I had sold things, gave things away from my apartment, and I drove down there with clothes, shoes,
Did you
maybe
even
one pot.
have a place to stay when you went out? Like, did you plan, okay, I'm going to move into this apartment and sign this lease? Or it was just, nah, I'm out there?
That's a really good question. So, I did have a place to stay by the grace of God, but my original plans fell through. So
Ooh.
the person that I met through that conference, at one point we start entertaining the idea of being roommates.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got to December. I would never forget December 2019 because I just kept saying like, "Hey, I looked at some places, but I'm relying on you to like
Confirm.
continue some of the places, some of the apartment searches, and send them my way. And we're looking at budget, and I will trust your judgment. Or like if you're there, FaceTime me." So it got to December and she pulled out. She was
Oof.
just like, "Oh, I think I'm going to stay where I am a little bit longer. I'm not going to do a roommate." She was living with her parents. She was like, "I don't think I'm going to do a roommate." And so now I'm like, "Well, what the heck am I going to do?"
Mm-hmm.
So I have a best friend who now lives in Texas again because she also moved back.
Wow.
Um, but she said, "I have a cousin. She's married and it's an entire family, but they have a really big house. And I'm going to ask her if you can occupy space in their house." So she asked, and her cousin was like, "Well, let's get on FaceTime so I can meet Shavonne." So we end up having like a FaceTime discussion just to do like a little temperature check. Like, do we kind of vibe?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm glad that we did because I wanted to make sure whoever I was staying with, I also felt comfortable because
Yeah.
I'm not a hermit. I'm not going to stay in my room the entire time. So I wanted it to feel at least pretty comfortable that I
Mm-hmm.
can connect with them. And they were very personable people. So that's who I end up staying with. So I'm packing
Wow.
my car and I'm driving to their house to meet and for the very first time in person.
Crazy.
And so it was a husband and wife at the time, family of three,
Mm-hmm.
three girls and a nanny.
Wow.
And they allowed me to live in their basement.
What?
That sounds really spooky because
Crazy.
in Texas, I'm like, "What's a basement?"
Yeah, we don't have that
we
here.
we don't really have basements. So I'm like, "What's a basement?" But that basement was my own apartment. Basements out there,
Wow.
they lived in Maryland. Basements out there is your own place. I had a bedroom, I had my own bathroom, huge bedroom, a movie room, a living room, a door, like outdoor,
Crazy.
like it was my own living quarters. Um, and so that was my first like transition piece just to kind of find my way until I end up finding my own apartment. But we drove 25 hours, no stops.
Wow.
Me and my parents, we just shifted every 3 to 4 hours, and whoever was in the front was driving, and whoever was in the passenger seat was at least trying to keep the driver up, and whoever was in the back was asleep, getting your rest until your next shift.
Game plan.
We did not stop. And so we pulled up, and I just remember being so nervous, like, I can't believe I did this. Like, I have a Nissan Altima. Don't y'all say nothing about the Altimas, okay? I
We're
have a
not.
Nissan Altima. I had clothes stacked on top of the Altima. I had stuff in my trunk. I had my flat screen going across the back row of
What?
in the back
You
seat.
were ready.
So all we could do was lay. We couldn't even sit up in the back seat if we wanted to. Whoever was in the back was laying down. I just took the essentials, and I gave away and sold so many things. So we pull up there. My parents, they stayed for about 5 days just to get me comfortable, and they toured, more of DC. And then um, I drove them to the airport, and it was
Wow.
time for them to go. And I'm like, that was the moment where it hit me like, what the heck did you just do? Like,
You
what the
just
heck?
did it.
Like, your parents are gone. Like, they're gone. And I just remember like feeling so proud, but afraid
Yeah.
because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But I was
Understandably.
like, the door opened and I'm
Yeah.
here. I don't have a job. And so Lord, it's me and you.
Mm-hmm.
2020 was so pivotal for
Yeah.
my faith journey.
Pandemic year also.
Pandemic year, starting your career in a pandemic, but also taking
Crazy.
a leap of faith in a
Yeah.
pandemic. And also, you have to remember, I moved before we even knew a pandemic was coming.
Yeah.
So there was also a moment where I was so disappointed with God when the pandemic did happen
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, first of all, I don't have a job. But second of all, you made the world shut down.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody out here. Thank God I was living with a family. because that provided some kind of um companionship or company, somebody to talk
Mm-hmm.
to. Because I'm like, imagine if I was out here by myself, what that, like, truly by myself, how hard that would have been. But you allowed me to stay with a family
Yeah.
who also took me in as a family. But of course, those very early stages, those very first few months, I was still a little
Yeah.
reserved. So I did spend my time downstairs in my little living quarters most of the time. But I just remember, I'm like, okay, I got to hit the ground running and apply for jobs because, Lord, you told me to go and I don't have a job. But I still had interviews rolling in. I
Mm-hmm.
remember landing, or not landing, but pulling up, driving, and having like an interview like 2 days later, 5 days later. So I
Mm-hmm.
still had interviews coming in. And now I'm like, well, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all could really take a bet on me because I'm
Yeah.
here. So I'm going to these interviews in person. And it was so discouraging because they were paying nothing.
Oh
And I was
wow.
like, I have a master's degree. Like, there was this, I'm not gonna lie, there was this piece of confidence of like, all of this experience in my master's, and you were trying to offer me this, whatever that number was at the time. And I'm like, how do people live on that,
Especially
especially
there.
that's what I was about to say, especially there. So I was turning down jobs because it didn't make sense for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Lord, I was turning down that job because I don't think I was supposed to work there.
Yeah.
That just did not make sense. And so a few weeks later, the pandemic happened. So I know I kind of jumped around because at this point, this is still like February.
Yeah.
So a few weeks later, the pandemic happens. And I was like, oh my gosh, this was not anything that I expected to happen. And I remember my parents, being parents, of course, they were just
Mm-hmm.
like, you can always come home. Like, you don't have to struggle alone. You don't have to fight and be strong. Like, you proved it to yourself that you were able to go out there, but you can come home. And I said, and that, first of all, I shocked myself of how much of a Bible scholar I was because I was quoting the scripture back to them. Okay. I said,
Amen.
the Lord did not bring me here to die. I
Mm-hmm.
said, I've been reading about the children of Israel and how he was uprooting them out of Egypt to go to the promised land. And along the way, they had all of those hiccups, but the Lord was with them.
Mm-hmm.
I said, he did not bring me all the way out here, give me all of this confirmation and tell me to go
Mm.
back home. I said, it's rough, but I will be okay.
Yeah.
I said, I will be okay. We will figure it out. I said, Exodus 14:14, the Lord just says,
Mm.
be still, I will fight for you. I said, so I'm gonna thug it out.
Yeah.
But on the inside, I'm like, what the heck am I gonna do? I had to be strong for my parents because I didn't want them to worry about me. But am I actually really strong? I don't know, Lord. Like, okay, what are you doing? I'm just like, my mind is going a mile a minute. Like, how am I going to, what am I doing? Like, what is going
How
to
are you gonna
happen?
navigate this?
How am I going to navigate this? And so I remember like looking at my finances. My finances are dwindling because, again, I was saving all the money that I could.
But no
But the
job.
cost of no job, the cost of living, I'm still getting groceries. I'm still getting all of the things I need to do to live. And then the winters out there is different. So I'm also like, well, I need to go get winter coats because I'm not buying a winter coat in Texas. That
Yeah.
that way ain't gonna tear that jacket apart. So I said, so I also made sure, like, I can get necessities that I need for that type of winter. So, my money was going, and I'm like, God, like, my money is starting to run out. And the Lord is so good. It actually just makes me think of, again, the children of Israel as they were on their journey. They were hungry and they were grumbling. And the Lord was like, wow, I'm going to just give you manna. Like,
Mm.
here is manna to eat. And that manna was their daily bread. I felt like the Lord was giving me daily bread. I was running low on money, and some people, some friends were still just, oh, congratulations, I forgot to give you like a graduation gift for
Mm.
graduating. And they didn't even know that they were giving me money to just keep me afloat. So my
Wow.
mom's friend was just like, oh, girl, I totally forgot. I'm so sorry I couldn't go to your graduation. Here's $200. My friends was like, oh yeah, late congrats. People are just sending me money.
Mm.
And I'm just like, wait a minute. And it really felt like manna. It just felt like
Mm.
I didn't know
Oh.
when it was coming, but it would just come. Um, and then of course it stopped.
Yeah.
They didn't just keep giving me money the whole year. That would have been great, but it stopped. But at least for that time period, it sustained me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that, I mean, Chinwei, how deep can I get if I can
And we
even
going
just?
there.
Okay, we're gonna go there.
We going deep. Let's
We are
go.
going to go there. So I just remember, I'm running low on money. And then I had an interview at a hospital in Virginia. Now, that is very specific because I was applying for jobs in DC and Maryland because why was I only? I think I just didn't do a lot of research on Virginia. I was very sold on either DC or Maryland. Oh, that's why, because Virginia is more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I don't want to do research in Virginia because I don't want to have to live there and pay like a bigger cost of living. So I'm just going to look for jobs in like Maryland, DC. Now, if you know anything about like the tri-state area, or DC is a um, not a state, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you know anything about it, they're all a few minutes apart.
Yeah.
So, even if I lived in Maryland, I can work in Virginia. But, in my mind, being from Texas, where Texas takes up the
It's
entire map,
huge. Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't want to have to live in, Maryland and work in DC, or live in Maryland and work in Virginia. So I'm going to try to find a job and a place in that space. Um, and so I got I think I was, I think it got to the point where I was like, okay, girl, like beggars can't be choosers. Like you just got to apply somewhere. So I applied for a hospital job in Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and it took them a while to respond to me. And so again, my money's running out. So I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna just take like a little odd end job until I can find like a career that calls me back. So I remember trying to Uber. I remember trying to do Uber Eats. I was trying to shop for people. All of it was falling through. And I
Man.
was like, Lord, hello, girl. Not girl. I'm so used to saying girl, but I'm like, hello. Like I am literally trying to work
Mm-hmm.
and just make it out here. And you're allowing all of this to fall through. And one thing that it taught me was like you're just trying to do things in your strength.
Mm.
So I think it was a few things. One, I am going to do things when the time is right. Like I, the
Mm.
Lord, will make it happen when the time is right.
Mm-hmm.
But two, I want to get the glory and not you. I don't want
Mm.
you to think that you opened these doors. I am going to be the one to open the doors. So you know, trust me. But three, I think that gave me an opportunity to just rest.
Mm.
And even though I didn't know what rest was, because my nervous system wasn't rested, okay, guys, my
Mm-hmm.
nervous system wasn't rested. My mom was just reminding me, like, girl, you were in survival mode all 2019. Like, you
Yeah.
were working, you were doing grad school, you were clinicals, and you were burnt out. So maybe this is a time where you could just, you're still in faith waiting for a job, but like rest,
Yeah.
spiritually rest, but like physically rest. She was like, she would call me and she's like, why are you up at 6, 7 in the morning? She was like, you can rest. And I'm like, I don't know what else to do. I'm so used to getting up and being
Mm-hmm.
productive. And that's the thing of the Black woman. Okay. We get up, we're
Yeah.
productive. We don't always know how to rest. And
Mm.
so in my work with Black women as a therapist, I teach a lot of rest and I teach self-care, but I didn't know how to do that then.
Dang.
And so I didn't seize that opportunity to just rest because I just felt like I'm failing
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not doing something. So all of the odd end jobs I was trying to apply for was just falling through. And then the hospital called me back.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, we're in the middle of the pandemic. And so they said, well, you can work. Um, you can work here, but you're not going to start till April.
Mm.
And I'm like, it's March 1st. Like, I need a job now. So I signed and everything, and they would not let me start until April.
Wow.
A whole month. So I'm like, okay, well, I secured a job, but I mean, I don't start into a month, and I'm not going to get another paycheck until a month and a half. So I'm just sitting here, just still kind of panicked, but relieved that like I signed this job. And if I can say, the Lord is so good because one, I wasn't planning on working in Virginia, and their board requirements for therapists are is a bit harder. It's a
Mm-hmm.
bit more rigorous. So I also didn't want to go through that process. So I was kind of like, dang, I got to go through that process because now I have a job in Virginia. So I got to,
Mm-hmm.
do all my boards there. Um, but the Lord is so good because that job gave me more money than I was expecting.
Ooh, look at that.
And they said, I'm giving you more money because you actually have a lot more experience than honestly, like they expected.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a good trade off. It was a lot more than I was expected. And I was like, okay,
Wow.
that is favor.
Wow.
So I signed on there. And during that time, again, I'm trying to rest because I'm like, I have a job, but I'm not making money yet.
Yeah, you still got daily
Um,
things you need.
and then the hospital emailed me a few weeks later and they're like, we have to push your start date back because of COVID.
Mm.
And I'm like, how long, how much do you have to, like, how far out do you have to push my start date back? I was supposed to start at the beginning of April. They pushed it back to mid-April. And
Mm.
I was just like, okay. And in my head, again, that doesn't feel like a lot of time. Um, you know, a week and a half is not a lot, but when you don't have money,
Yeah.
when it's dwindling, all you can think about is your next check is not going to come out until even later. So I started the hospital April 15th
Mm-hmm.
and acclimated, onboarded, did all of the things that I needed to do. And I was out of money.
Dang.
I said, Lord, I don't know when this check is going to hit because when you're onboarding, sometimes your check and that whole
Mm-hmm.
payroll system is funky. So I'm just like, I don't know when this check is going to hit. That check hit. I don't know if it was exactly May 1st, but it was the beginning of May and I was able to pay my May rent. I didn't
Ooh.
have any more money.
Wow.
So my first check was rent and more, but yeah, I
It's
had ran out
like
of money.
God literally said, I'm taking you out of here. I'm giving you rest, and I'm going to give you even more than what you asked for, but it's not going to be by your might. It's
Yeah,
going to be all by his doing, and he showed out.
yeah, exceedingly abundantly.
Yeah.
So he did that. So I'm on a job and I'm acclimating. So now, my first check is in May. And so I'm thinking like everything is sweet. But then this is how the enemy still comes to
Mm.
attack you when things are sweet, right? So the family that I was living with chooses to go out of town. So they were originally from Virginia Beach. So Virginia Beach, from where we were in the DMV, is about 3+ hours away. And usually every summer they go down there, they take the kids, they hang out, they go see their parents,
Mm-hmm.
and they're there for a few weeks. But I think maybe they only stayed for like a week. This is June 2020. So I'm at their house by myself, and I will never forget. I had my first experience with suicidal thoughts, and
Mm.
I it was a scary yet humbling experience. And I would say humbling because one, I was working at a psychiatric hospital.
Oh,
And so I'm
wow.
working with patients who are struggling with that every single day. And do I have to share your experience to help you? No, I don't have to share your exact same experience to provide care and
Mm-hmm.
validation and comfort and safety for you. But I think the Lord, it was humbling because I think the Lord wanted me to have that experience.
Mm.
Um, and I don't even know if I want to say the Lord wanted me to have that experience, but a part of me is just like I was just humbled to feel what it felt like to struggle
Mm-hmm.
with mental health. And there was still a level of, what do I call it? I think I was still blessed because of my relationship with the Lord. And I
Mm-hmm.
say that because um, a lot of the clients or patients that I was working with, they didn't have a relationship with Jesus.
Mm.
So I'm like, wow, I am privileged to know the Lord and I'm struggling in this way. And He is my anchor and He is my rock. So I know who to turn to.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas these people, they don't even know Him. And so they're struggling and they're being tormented every day
Mm.
and they have no outlet because they don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was like a heartbreak there of just like, I see how it feels and this is hard, but I have the Father and this is hard. You don't have the Father or the Spirit. Like, you don't have the Spirit. And so this is probably 10 times
Yeah.
harder for you because you don't have an anchor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that moment was just very interesting because the thoughts came once I was isolated.
Mm.
Once that family left out of town, that was the first time I had those thoughts. I never had those thoughts. And I was immediately able to recognize that it was the enemy
Mm-hmm.
because I believe that sometimes we don't always, sometimes our thoughts are not ours.
Yeah.
Sometimes thoughts can be planted.
Yep.
And so I knew for a fact that that thought was planted because I never had those thoughts before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to recognize it. But even though I was able to recognize it, it was still hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was still very difficult. And if I can get a little bit more personal, um, some of the voices, they were loud. Like the enemy was telling me to unalive myself with various means. Like you can overdose, you can grab a knife and do this, you can shoot yourself, go
Mm.
find this, go find that, and just end it. Because one, I was literally isolated. They left. I was in this big house by myself. but I was lonely
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, I just moved there. I still haven't made friends yet. I'm just going to work and coming back. My family is almost 2K miles away.
Mm.
Like I was there by myself, and that's how the enemy works. He works in isolation. He
Mm.
comes to literally kill, steal, and destroy. And so he wanted to take me out in that moment.
Yeah.
But it was nothing but my foundation in the Lord, knowing like these are not my thoughts, and finding strategies to try to overcome that. So I'm opening my Bible, I'm trying to read my word, and I'm like, this is not comforting to me. And I remember having a
Mm.
moment where I was so upset with the Lord, where I was just like, you said that your word is like a light to our path, a lamp to our feet. Like it's supposed to be comforting. It's supposed to be this, this, and that. And it's not doing any of that for me.
Mm.
I was like, right now, I'm opening your word and I still am struggling with these thoughts. I don't feel like you're close. I don't feel you right now. And so I remember calling a friend,
Mm.
and I'm still grateful for that moment because if she didn't answer, I don't know what would have happened because
Wow.
again, I didn't want to out myself, but it was so scary. It felt like I had no control. It felt like I wanted to get up, like physically get up and go get whatever means it was to do it. And I was just like, whoa, 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 whoa. I need to call someone because if I don't, like the thoughts were just tormenting. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I don't, I feel like I might get up and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that scared me.
That's scary.
And that's how I know, again, that's how I know it's not me and it was an intrusive thought. It was a thought that was planted because I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
This thought is not comforting to me. This solution, I don't want to end it all. That's
Mm-hmm.
not a solution that I want just because I'm lonely.
Yeah.
So that's how I know, like, I don't want to do this. This is not my thought. Um, and so my friend answered and I cried and I let her know what was happening. And she stayed on the phone with me for hours.
Wow.
She stayed on the phone with me for hours. And I'm like, if she didn't answer, I don't know what would have happened.
Phew.
Because I don't know. Would I kept trying to fight it, or would I eventually have gotten up and found something to do to hurt myself? I don't know.
Man.
But she stayed on the phone with me for hours until I felt like I was ready to go to sleep. And I don't even remember what time I called her, but it was nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
So she stayed up with me until like midnight, 1 in the morning, until I felt like I can fall asleep. And I fell asleep to worship music. And
Mm.
that was the first time where I would play worship music every night because it scared me. I was
Mm-hmm.
just like, I don't want these thoughts to come back, and I need to feel like I'm wrapped and safe
Yes.
um, with the Lord. And so I listened to worship every night for almost probably a year straight
Wow.
because those thoughts scared me so much.
Wow. Oh my
Um,
gosh.
by the grace of God, I'm still here. This is
Uh,
not a ghost.
no.
It's me. Nothing happened.
No, I'm
Um,
beyond thankful that, you were able to make it through that season, that
yeah.
God was with you, that He sent that friend for you, that, you know, you were able, even though it wasn't His word in the form of the book, it was His word in the form of music.
Mm-hmm.
And that was able to soothe you and really rest your spirit. And
Yeah.
man, I'm truly thankful for that.
For real. And I feel like right when you said that, Chinwei, it made me just think of I don't want to butcher any of these people in the stories in the Bible, but
Saul, David.
yeah. And he
Mm-hmm.
was being tormented with the spirit, and he
Yeah.
asked for David to come and play the harp
Mm-hmm.
lyre. Was it the harp?
Yeah, I
He
think
asked
so.
David to come play the harp for him. So it was so funny that you said he comforted you with music, and that's what music is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
Like was had music is created to worship God, and of
Yeah.
course we listen to all of the things that we listen to. But if you go back to the origin, music is created to worship God.
Mm-hmm.
It was meant to comfort. It was meant to
Heal.
heal.
Yes.
And so you just reminded me of that, of like I was being tormented and the only thing that helped was music.
Yeah.
Um woo, I'm not saying I'm Saul, but that helped. That
Yeah.
music helped. Um so yeah, it was just a very humbling moment. And so by the grace of God, I can say that I have not experienced
Amen.
those thoughts since then. It was so interesting. The family came back and it was done. Like a
Dang.
week later, it only lasted for a few days, and I think I was able to just like um set the atmosphere
Mm-hmm.
and protect myself with with the weapons that I knew
Mm-hmm.
to fight back. Like my weapons is the word, my weapons is music, my weapon is worship, my weapon is prayer, and I armed myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so after a few days, the devil was like, ah, okay, I can't mess with her.
Exactly.
She protected,
Yeah.
suited and booted. I said, yeah,
Yeah.
take that.
Exactly.
I wanted to hit him. But I was good. And so of course, the rest of the year was just adjusting and acclimating. Of course, I went through things at work because I'm working in Northern Virginia. And if you don't know anything about Northern Virginia, it's it lacks diversity in some spaces.
Mm.
And I happen to be working in a very affluent space.
Okay.
So a lot of microaggressions from supervisors,
Mm.
from the person I was supposed to report to, discrimination, like
Oh,
to the point where I was about to get like a lawsuit started, and the Lord was just like,
be still.
drop it.
Mm.
Like I fight your battles. I'm gonna lift you up. I'm gonna give you favor here. Like, giants. You are among giants, but it's not gonna feel like giants, or it might still feel like giants, but you are good here. Um, so much stuff happened at that hospital. But the Lord was just like, I got you. I
Mm.
got you. Don't retaliate that way, because theirs will come. And boy, did it come.
Woo,
It
look
came a
at
few
that.
years later. Once I
Look at
was out of that hospital, the Lord, oh, I I don't want to say cast the judgment, but that hospital crumbled.
wow.
And it wasn't because of like my hands, of like, because I no longer worked there, like I was the best worker. It was just like he moved me, and then he allowed whatever to strike,
Mm.
where people were let go, people were, the
Man.
whole like
A real
unit
Sodom
just,
and Gomorrah moment.
a Solomon and Gomorrah. Yeah.
Dang.
Yes.
Ooh.
Um, but yeah, the rest of the year was just acclimating. My trust was, whew, my trust was built, my faith was built. I felt like I was able to experience God in that moment. And I went through, what? I stayed in the DMV until October 2025. So over 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I would have made my 6 years if I stayed till January. But the Lord called me back home. The Lord called me back to Texas. I told the Lord 3 to 5 years, and He allowed me to stay at the very tail end of the year five. And
Wow.
I just think that's a blessing too. Like, five represents grace. And I think my entire time in the DMV was just a grace walk, a faith
Ooh.
walk, a walk of growing. And so I'm back here, and I see why he brought me back. It was hard to move back. I miss my people very, very, very much there. That's always going to be my second home. But he has me here to build.
And honestly, we talked about you moving back before we got on camera. Tell us about that because I think that is also a story in itself.
Yeah. So, um, man, after I left the hospital, I was at the hospital for about 2 years. After I left the hospital, I went to a treatment center, a
Mm.
treatment facility. So, no, it is not a hospital, but it's still very acute work, where I'm working with adolescents and families
Mm.
who maybe just transitioned from the hospital
Yeah.
after they had, an attempt or whatever, severe mental health. They move to a treatment facility is usually the recommendation. So instead of allowing them to go back into their world, and their world was probably very stressful, they might need a middle ground, so they can learn some tools before they go back into like their normal environment. And so I worked in a treatment center where they would go home at the end of the day, but they're there all day. I worked there for 3 years. Um, and I left that job in January of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lord made it so evident and so clear that it was time to go, because He started making it so uncomfortable. I started having issues with people at my job. And I don't believe that every issue means that it's time for you to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I was having reoccurring issues, where one issue I had, I put in my 2 weeks and the Lord said, stay.
Mm.
And so I stayed for an additional year and a half. And so
Wow.
when another big issue arose, He was like, it's time to go. He made me so uncomfortable that I had to leave. But in the midst of that, I was having dreams. The Lord speaks to me in my dreams. I was having dreams, and I kept having dreams about babies. I kept having dreams about the word Shiloh, the name Shiloh. And I'm like, what does this mean? And I'm trying to find interpretation, and I'm trying to ask the Holy Spirit for meaning to these dreams. So this happened September 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And so I basically sat with these dreams until the end of 2024, when the Lord made it very clear that I was supposed to be going into my own private practice,
Wow.
working with women, and working with women, but more specifically working with women who had just giving birth. So I do
Wow.
specialize in postpartum work as a therapist, and perinatal therapy. So women who are trying to conceive, who are pregnant, and who have recently given birth. And I still work with all women, but that's
And
just the
tell us the name of your
specialty.
practice, and
And the name,
let's shift gears. Tell us about this
yeah,
practice and what you're doing right now.
yeah, the name of the practice is Shiloh Counseling. So I
Wow.
was like, why were you giving me the name Shiloh? Maybe that is supposed to be like my first child's name. I
Mhm.
said maybe this is just a cute firstborn name, but like my business is my baby.
Yeah.
So it still was my first baby's name. And so like now it is my business. And I was just like, when he kept giving me the name Shiloh, I'm very much like, well, what does this mean? I'm going to go research. And so when I researched, ooh, that was a whole story. Sorry.
Ugh.
When I researched Shiloh, Shiloh was the place in the New Testament, if you're reading First Samuel
Mm-hmm.
1, like literally First Samuel 1, before you get to David, before you get to Jesse, before you get to Saul, they're talking about Hannah and
Mm-hmm.
they're talking about Samuel. And Hannah was a woman who struggled with infertility.
Ooh.
And so it was crazy because I had a whole dream around Shiloh. I had a dream, and if I can say her name, I had a coworker named Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
And my coworker Hannah was in my dream, but she seemed out of place in that dream.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why is Hannah here when we don't, like, she doesn't run in this circle?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Lord, make sense of it. And he was just trying to, he needed me to hang on to the word Hannah, the name Hannah, so I can go read
Mm-hmm.
about
I
Hannah.
don't know why I'm tearing up.
It's a crazy dream.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
crazy. I tear up every time I think about it because it feels so unreal.
Yeah.
So I was like, why is Hannah there in Shiloh? Like, what does this mean? So as I was researching Shiloh, which
Mm-hmm.
Shiloh was in Hannah's story, I said, Hannah, you wanted me to study Hannah so I can see Shiloh. You wanted me to study Shiloh so I can see Hannah. And Hannah struggled with infertility. And he kept giving me dreams about the name Shiloh, babies. And I'm like, what? Hannah struggled with infertility. So she was married to girl, not me forgetting her whole husband's name, please. My mind is going blank on her husband's name for whatever reason. I guess he's a non-factor. I'm just kidding. He is a factor, guys. He's a factor. But Hannah struggled with infertility, and what happened was, her husband, back in that day, they had multiple wives.
Mm.
He had another wife. His second wife's name was Peninnah. Peninnah's womb was open, and the Lord continued to give her children. But what Peninnah would do was taunt Hannah because her womb was closed.
This is a reoccurring thing in the Bible too, because I want to
Hmm.
say, was it not Ruth, not Sarah? Well, Sarah,
Sarah,
and then also the one who had to work,
Leah.
Leah. Thank you.
Hmm.
Mm, these women,
Yeah, yeah,
these men.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So for whatever reason, he gave me Hannah.
Mm,
And so, yeah, Peninnah would taunt her, but the Bible said that the Lord closed her womb.
mm,
So I'm like, well, if the Lord closed her womb, then the Lord can open her womb.
yeah.
But the Bible says, First Samuel 1 says that the Lord closed her womb, and in the story, Hannah is pleading to the Lord of hosts,
Mm,
the Lord of armies, like, Lord, I know that you are mighty in battle. You can do this. She's down at the temple, and Eli, the priest, sees her, and he's just like, girl, did you drink too much wine? You're a little tipsy. You turned up. And she's like, no, my Lord, I'm in distress. And she's like, I'm not drunk. I actually don't drink. Like, I'm just distressed. And he was like, well, whatever is happening, I don't know what you're praying, but go in peace. He said,
mm,
go in peace. And so she picked up her stuff and she went in peace. And of course, the Bible is not always, it doesn't always share how long some of the time
mm-hmm,
frames were, but the next verse over, it's like, she made love to her husband and the Lord
mm,
remembered her, all because she was casting down heavens. Okay,
mm,
the Lord remembered her and opened her
mm,
womb and gave her baby. But what Hannah said was, Lord, if you give me this child, I will promise that I will give him back to you.
mm.
And so the beauty in that was, Hannah got the blessing, and she didn't say, JK, I've been praying for this son forever, so I'm
It's
gonna keep
mine.
him, it's mine. She said, no, I I gave my word. And back in those days, your word was your bond. Your word is, you're taking an oath. If you're going to tell God that you're doing something,
Mm,
you need to do it. And so she
mm.
said, I will give him back to you. And she did. And the beauty in that is after that, Hannah had 4 or 5 more kids,
Wow.
but she gave Samuel back to the Lord. So, um, that story and my practice is built from that story is how can I support women who who's praying for this blessing, and now the blessing is here, and maybe they just need a little bit support in
Man, that's
navigating
so
motherhood.
beautiful. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, and so that's where Shiloh comes from. But the name Shiloh, that's what I was, excuse me, talking about was Shiloh means his gift,
Mhm.
abundance, tranquil, calm, his presence. And I said, well, that's what I want my practice to feel like. I want women to come here and they feel God's presence. I want them to come
Mm.
here and they know that this baby is a gift and therapy is a gift, and they can learn all of the tools to support their family and adjust to this new normal. And they don't have to do it alone. Like, this is a gift.
Ooh.
I want them to feel calm and safe in this space. And so I only provide telehealth. My goal is to eventually get in a building, but right now I can still create a safe space virtually.
Yeah.
And so I say all of that to say the Lord start um, giving me in chunks how to start building my business. So by January 2025, where I'm transitioning out of this very comfortable job, well, comfortable pay. It was getting uncomfortable, but the pay was it was amazing. I had moved up to leadership. The Lord was good. I moved up to
Mm.
leadership. He was showing me and giving me all of the tools. I think we were talking about this earlier, but giving me all the tools on, well, you can take all of this and now run your business, because I was over doing assessments. I was over keeping our clinic full. I'm looking at data, I'm looking at numbers, I'm going out into the community, making partners,
Mm.
doing presentations, I'm keeping a list of. So I know how to do all of that in my practice now. Of like, I know how it feels to network, I know how it feels to do presentations, I know how to do assessments. So I do my own intakes, of course. But it's really people facing. It's very warm. So I just learned a lot of skills. I know how to keep data now as my
Mhm.
practice grows. Like, here are connections and referral
Mm.
partners and people that I can reach back out to as I network, because I learned that skill there, being in that position. But the Lord basically was like, well, you're going to start this. And of
Oh
course,
man.
whenever we get a word from the Lord, we're like,
You got to do
now, but
it.
you also think now, like, okay, I'm hitting the ground running, Lord. So I switched jobs because I said, okay, I don't think I can build my business and stay at this very
Yep.
demanding job. I can't do
Mhm.
both. So I'm going to have to trust you. So I switched jobs, and I started working for a psychiatry office, and my pay cut was significant, but it
Mm.
gave me the flexibility that I needed.
Yep.
And so I said, okay, Lord, I need you to make this work. You know what my overhead is, and you see what I'm getting paid. And it's not a salary job, it's a fee
Mm.
for service. And what that means is you don't get paid unless you do a service. So if I get somebody that cancel or no show, I'm not getting paid. So I'm like, all right, Lord, I need all these people to always show up.
Yeah.
Um, and it gave me the flexibility to build my business. And so 2025 was rocky because I'm learning almost a sense of entrepreneurship. Like, while I'm working on a job, I am still in charge of my schedule, and it gave me the opportunity to learn, like, how does it feel when your money fluctuates each check, and how do you sustain yourself? Because when I'm jumping out there for full-time entrepreneurship, I'm going to be doing the same thing.
Yep.
So let me learn what I'm supposed to learn with this new job as people cancel and as people do
Mhm.
this and this. How do I manage my money so I can be a good entrepreneur? Well, yeah, he taught me that in 2025. All right. Because when I say those people were flaky, sorry if y'all watching this, them people were flaky.
Yep, it does happen.
And
It
I
does.
was sitting here like, hello, this was, I there was a time where all my clients canceled in a day.
Oh
I saw
wow.
nobody, and I'm sitting here like,
How we gonna make this work?
yeah, I'm just sitting here like, like that meme, like that girl, like, I'm like, Lord, what are we doing now? Like, I had a lot of crash outs, and I don't typically crash out, but that just felt like such a scary leap again.
Mhm.
I'm like, I felt like I was in 2020 again, like waiting for manna, like, okay,
Mhm.
Lord, like, I need you to keep these people in rotation for me. So anyways, I said, well, instead of crashing out, I can use this extra time to build my business. So what I did was I took the opportunity That free time that I have when somebody canceled, I said, okay, well, I'm going to start building my website. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
another person canceled. Okay, I'm going to start building this.
Mm.
And I said, because I can't just sit and sulk,
Yeah.
I need to build because I trust that this is the word that you've given me. So I have to just build.
Mm.
So I'll start building. My practice launched technically April 22nd of
Oh,
2025.
congratulations.
I think my website might have went live a few days before that, but I don't think I officially like started posting and talking about it and the birth of it until April 22nd. So I am going to mark that as my 1 year anniversary. Thank
Congratulations.
you.
It's around the corner.
It's it's around the corner.
Yeah.
And so even in that, I was just like, okay, Lord, I'm here. I did what you said. Bring the people.
Mm. And he will.
He did the opposite. The few people that I did have in my practice, because I had some people follow me, the few people I had in my practice, all one by one left.
Mm.
And I said, okay, now, Lord, because I was using this money to offset the money that I'm not getting from this job that I'm supposed to be working because these people are canceling. So this was keeping me afloat. And you basically had my cushion leave.
Mm.
That was not a part of my plan. But what I learned was he said, I am bringing people that are in line with what you want to do and what your vision.
Ooh.
I don't want you to just be doing therapy and counseling people just for for the money, not for the money, but like in this season you needed that to sustain you, but I'm bringing people who align with the vision that I gave you, because those people that followed me,
Mm.
that wasn't um the specialty work that I'm doing now. There were
Mm.
people who followed me that wanted family therapy, but it
Mm.
wasn't like newborn work. It was just adolescent and family therapy,
Mm.
which was my niche before. And so he was like, I'm clearing the path. I'm having all of these people go so we can fill your caseload back up with the people who's supposed to be here.
Ooh.
So I'm just sitting here like, okay, fair, yes, I get it, but like, can we send them now? So now I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to pull on all of the stuff that I learned from my last job. Let me hit the ground running. Let me do networking. Let me do this. When I say none of them doors open, like
Mm.
bolted shut.
What?
And it was so humbling because I'm just like, Lord, I'm well connected here. And I know you open doors, but I'm also like, I'm trying to partner with you. You gave me the vision. I'm hitting the ground running and nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. So that was very humbling to just do like act in obedience and it not happen in the time that you expected.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, okay, well, when is this to happen then? If not now,
Then when?
then when? Because you did I hear you wrong? Again, going back to did I hear you wrong? Every time the boat rocks, we believe that we heard God wrong.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean
Ooh,
that.
that's a good one.
It really just means like I am sovereign and I still want you to learn and depend on me,
Mm.
because during that time I couldn't say like this was all my doing and I'm staying afloat because of me. Like he wanted to strip me of all that. He wanted again to get the glory. So the boat was rocky, but he was like, did you miss a meal or a bill?
Mm.
And I said, no, I didn't. He was like, okay then. I said, oh, okay. Okay, you're right. He said, I need you to practice gratitude and praise anyway.
Mm.
Even like it hasn't come and you are in a rough space, but you didn't miss a meal or a bill, and I need you to practice gratitude and praise anyway. And I
Mm.
said, okay. So I would practice gratitude. I would speak things into existence. I would praise them anyway. I would have dreams that like these type of people, it still hasn't even happened yet, but I had some dreams of like I saw people's faces. I saw skin tones of like
Ooh.
people who's going to be here. So whenever I do get a request, I'm like, I wonder if that's the woman from my dream. And it was like a name.
Mm.
It was somebody's name too. So I'm just waiting for the day that I come across that person with that name and this person that looks like this, because I'm like, okay, the Lord brought, fulfilled that dream. But he'll give me dreams of like my practice thriving, and it it's
And I believe it.
sustaining itself.
I definitely believe that it will happen. Like it's it's not about you know how or it's when. It's
Yeah,
just when. It's a matter of when. And it's gonna be on his time.
it's a matter of when. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that's spring summer of 2025 just taught me just again to depend on him.
Mm-hmm.
But in that, it was so uncomfortable where I'm just like, okay, Lord, like I built all of this and I thought it was going to happen now. And he was just like, not yet, like
Mm.
later. And I'm like, what do you mean later? And at that time, he started putting Texas back on my heart. And I'm like, home? I said, well, Lord, I did say 5 years and this is year five. Wow. And so I remember I came home for 2 weeks in July, and I've never come home that long ever. I usually just do a weekend trip or like a week. But I said, I'm gonna go for 2 weeks because I work at a job that's remote. So that was
Mm-hmm.
another thing, or work from home. I did have to go to the office or like the clinic twice. But it was so flexible where, I can just pivot my clients on those two in-person days to just virtual if I needed to. So I did, and I came home for 2 weeks and I did not want to go back.
Mm.
And I was like, that's interesting because I'll be ready to get out of Dodge. I'll be ready to jump back on that plane and go back to the DMV. And I did not want to go.
Wow.
And I said, okay, Lord, well, maybe I should start fasting because maybe you are shifting something.
Mm-hmm.
You have me homesick. You're having me think about Texas more. I didn't want to leave when I just came to visit. So I'm going to start fasting. And I fasted. And on day 3,
Oh.
I did a 3-day fast. So on
Mm-hmm.
day 3, I got my answer and it was very clear as day. I said, Lord, I need you to make this your whatever your answer is, I need you to make it so clear for me that I would understand. Like me,
Mm-hmm.
because I overthink.
Mm-hmm.
So it needs to make sense for me.
Yes.
Okay. And so I go to my dentist's office, and she is an older black woman and she gives forehead kisses every time you get out of her chair. I love her to death. So I was like, yeah, I think this might be my last time here at the appointment. And, I think I'm going to move home. And she out of nowhere was just like, yeah, I think so too. I think you're supposed to be at home. Hmm? Hmm? What? Girl, you don't know me. But you do, but and I just said, okay. And, so she does, my every 6 month just cleaning or whatever. And after she does that, I said, okay, well, good to see you. She gives me a hug. And I said, well, what's the code to your bathroom? And so she was like, oh, it's 214, like Valentine's Day. And I said, 214 is the area code to my city. She said, you're supposed to be going home. And I said, hello. So I was like, God, 214, like the area code to Dallas.
Right when you're talking about going home.
And that was the last day of the fast. And I was like, I still don't know, Lord. Like, I need you to make it clear. 214.
Yeah.
And people could be like, coincidence, just 214. I said, make it clear to me,
Mm-hmm.
clear for me. I felt like that was a telltale sign
Yeah,
of my
absolutely.
area code. People are just like, it's just a number. And I'm like, no,
No.
that was symbolic
While
of,
you're fasting and while you just asked, that's clear.
yeah, it's clear. No coincidences with God, all divine. So I said, all right now, well, I guess I need to start like packing. But I was also, again, like Gideon, I think I was telling you this earlier. I was like, all right, Lord, okay, I need another sign. Like, if this is you, I need you to do this. I said, if this is you, I need you to make this transition as smooth as possible. I was like, what the heck do I do at work? Because I'm still doing this work here at the psychiatry office. I'm building my practice, but I really don't have clients yet. But like, I need you to do something. I don't have a license in Texas because, I moved right after grad school and I started everything here um, in Virginia. And so I'm like, what if my job doesn't let me switch? Like, what the heck do I do? Like, I don't have a license in Texas. And he was like, just talk to your job. Just talk to him. And so I told him, like, hey, the situation, I think I'm ready to go back home and I wanted to see if you could work with me. That man looked at me and said, just let me know your last day in the office and I'll just approve you for
Wow.
full-time remote. Like,
That's
just easy. And I said, He was like, yeah, I love you. Like, it was very good, like, great to know you. I want to keep you on here. Just let me know. And I will
wow.
just have HR change in the system and you'll be a fully remote therapist. And I
That's
said,
favor.
favor. So to this day, I still work for the psychiatry office. Praise the Lord. So I'm still doing work there, but also God has kept his promise. He have brought people to me. So the
What?
moment that I said yes
Mm-hmm.
to go back home, flooded with people.
Whoo! Won't he
So
do it?
March, no, not March. May, I had a new client. August, September, October. It was the moment where I said, I'll go back, that he brought people to me. And
Wow.
so, again, I'm not operating in Shiloh counseling full time,
Mm-hmm.
but the goal is to pivot full time. I'm still holding my job at the psychiatry office in Virginia, and I'm very thankful for that. Um, but I have enough people on my caseload where I don't have any openings right now.
Wow.
I don't have any openings. And if I can even add, this is just another God thing, if I can even add Chinwei, I do supervision in the state of Virginia. So for our board, after so many years of being licensed, if you want to become a supervisor, then what you can do is take additional, they call it continuing education credits, CEUs. You can take additional CEUs and apply to become like a supervisor, take a little test, apply to become a supervisor. And some of the new clinicians coming in the field who needs to complete their residency and count their hours, I would be supervising them. They would be under my license. So, excuse me, the spring of 2025, I started doing that. I have never advertised that I was a supervisor other than like my Instagram. I think I put like one post, but on any of my platforms for therapy related services, I don't advertise that I'm a supervisor. I got an inquiry on Psychology Today.
Wow.
Again, it doesn't advertise that I'm a supervisor, on Psychology Today in September.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I'm looking for a supervisor in the state of Virginia, and I came across you, and I thought it was spam. Like, she basically was just like, can you be my supervisor? So I responded and was like, let's set up a meeting. I would love to get to know you and, see if it's a good fit for supervision. I want to learn, what population you work with,
Mm-hmm.
so I can make sure I also have the skills to support you. So we set up a meeting, and I said, okay, I'm not going to respond in this email like, how did you find me? I'll just
Yeah.
ask during our meeting. So we set up a 30-minute meeting. And at the end of the meeting, I said, how did you find me? I said, because I don't even advertise that I do supervision. And she laughed. She was like, yeah, I was wondering if you thought it was going to be spam because you don't have anything on your Psychology Today profile that you do supervision. She was like, I just happened to, um, I went into, I guess, like the database for board supervisors, and she was like, and I just typed in a zip code and you popped up.
Wow. Wow.
And so I have been working with her since September, and we meet twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I count that as a client as well,
Yeah.
and so under my business. And so the Lord is just,
He's working.
He's working.
And man, I'm speechless. I'm blown away. I'm like, man, he just never fails.
Never, never fails. So yeah, so now is now. I'm operating my business on a part-time scale, but I'm definitely looking to expand later this year. But the Lord just keeps showing me why he brought me back here, because I was just like, man, again, like it felt quick, even though I was praying for it most of the year. But I'm like, okay, Lord, you brought me back, so I need you to show me why.
Yeah.
And I've started to learn why. I've been having talks with people
Mm.
about partnerships and
And it's
about,
crazy. I'm like, once this video concludes, I got so much to drop on you. You're gonna be like, what? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm just like, okay, I'm prepping for Q2, Q3, Q4, whatever the rest of this year looks like. I said I have to make sure I steward this well. So while I'm working my full-time job, how can I just go full throttle on my business?
Mm.
And I'm prepping, and so I am getting things together because I believe that a lot of things are about to happen soon.
Mm-hmm.
um and I'm excited. I'm nervous. Another faith walk, another faith journey. But what I've learned is it's going to be many faith journeys on your journey, and you
Absolutely.
can't hold on to that one big move of faith. If I would have held on to that one big move of faith and was in limited God, like, okay, I moved to the DMV and that's the one risk I'm going to take, I missed out on all of these other
The
risks and how he's
experience,
moved me.
the growth, the growing pains, the all of that. You wouldn't have got that.
I wouldn't have got that. So I'm so glad that I was able to take more risk
Mm.
and trust him. But it started with that moment, like of moving,
Mm-hmm.
because that taught me to have bigger faith, to bet on God, but also to believe the dreams that he has for me, like to
Absolutely.
see it too, to see it as well.
Yeah.
And not just it being in not it being just a dream, but it can actually be something that is lived out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like that entire 2020 experience just taught me more trust, dependence,
Mm.
taking more risks. So now I'm like, all right, Lord, you can tell me to move here, here, here. And I'm like, it would probably be hard and it might still be scary, but I have that experience under my belt, and I watched you take care of me. I did not fail. I did not fall. I did not go hungry.
Mm.
Like, I know
Bills were
you got
paid.
me. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm back. I'm doing the work. I still obviously hold my license in Virginia, and I'm licensed here in Texas. And at least for right now, I'm okay with those two states.
Yeah, I
So
definitely believe that your practice will flood to the point where you're like, hey,
yeah,
exceedingly and abundantly, you can't keep both.
I'm not gonna be able to keep both, and then hopefully it gets to the place. Not hopefully, it will get to the place where I'll start hiring people. That's the
Yeah,
goal. Is to start hiring
absolutely.
people, and that can free me to do a little bit more. I love doing client work, but I want to do more face to facing. I want to teach. I
Mm,
even entertained the idea of like maybe do I want to do doula work? So
hmm.
while I'm even doing therapy, I can even support them
Yeah,
in giving labor. I've
sky's
had
the limit. And
yeah
then past that.
yes. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what
Oh
happens.
man, I am like my jaw still dropped from just all the work that God has continued to do in your life
Hmm.
from and your obedience in doing so. How he made you relatable to your patients,
Yeah.
how he
Whew.
gave you the experiences to just show you to give you the empathy and the true understanding and like y'all watching this, if y'all don't feel this way either, there's something wrong.
Listen,
Like honestly, if this doesn't make you just say, look, God, I'm gonna trust you. I'm going to just go.
I'm gonna
That's
just
the word.
go.
Just go.
You just got to be open. And I think you also have to remember so Matthew 7 7 talks about ask, seek, and knock.
Mm-hmm.
Ask, seek, and knock. The door will be open if you continue to ask. But right after that verse, it talks about how God is a good father and how in him being a good father, if you are asking him for something, if you are asking him for bread, he is not going to give you a snake or a stone.
Ooh.
So I had to learn that like while he might not say yes to this, he might very well say while he might not say no, he might say yes. And if he does say yes, then I could believe that if I'm asking for this, he's not a trickster. He's not trying to trick you. He's
Mm-mm.
not trying to put you in this crazy situation where he's going to leave you. He's very much like if my son or my daughter is asking for bread, why would I trick him and give him a stone? Why would I give him a snake?
Mm-hmm.
My father gives good gifts. So I think I hold on to that too, knowing that like I can approach the throne and ask, knowing that it's either going to be a no, and if it's a yes, it's going to be a good yes. It's going to be coated in
Mm-hmm.
goodness because he gave me to go. So if he gives me to
Exactly.
go, it's going to be good, and I
Absolutely.
can trust it's going to be good. And so, um, anything, whatever people are wanting to branch out on and take
Mm.
a faith on, just be obedient because I believe that sometimes things can pass you by. Some
Mm-hmm.
people say, like, well, what's for you is for you. And while that is true, sometimes you can sit in disobedience where the Lord's going to find somebody else to do it,
Ooh,
or you're going to sit in fear and he's just like he's going to keep knocking and he's going to give you the opportunity. If you keep closing that door,
I'm gonna give it
you
to
keep
someone
closing your
else.
ear, he's going to pass you. So what is for you can pass you,
Mm-hmm.
so don't let it pass you. So move in obedience if he's telling you to do it, and just know that he is a father who's going to give good gifts.
Mm. Amen.
Yeah.
Oh, honestly, I'm so edified by this conversation. I'm like, I'm telling you, like, it's just so much thoughts racing in my head. I'm
Yeah.
like, dang, He's truly good, and even for myself, I've witnessed, I've seen it, and it's like how you just touching on what you said about like sometimes you're like, dang God, you told me to move now, and I don't see it. It's not immediate. It's not always going to be immediate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like no, you gonna know for sure it's him. It's not gonna be you. So sometimes it's not immediate. Sometimes you're gonna go through those seasons of dang, this is dry,
Yeah.
this feels uncomfortable, but it's for your good. Like
And that's the
even
test.
those moments are still for your good. It's like, what are you gonna do? Can he trust you with what he's about to give you?
Can yeah.
Can he trust you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you going to be a good steward of this? So, in that season of that uncomfortability, you know,
Yeah.
it's just part of the process. So,
Yeah. And that's the test. I mean,
yeah.
his word says in James, like, count it all joy when you experience trials, because
Mm-hmm.
these trials are for your growth, your development, your edification, all of the things. It goes on and lists like character, all of these things that is developing. And so we're going to have to go through discomfort, and we're going to have
Absolutely.
to go through the test. And so, how is that test? Are we going to run back to idols and things that are that
Mm,
comforted us, or are we going to stay rooted in him? So like this feels uncomfortable, but I'm going to let this grow me. I'm going to let this mature me. I'm going to cling on to God. I'm not going to cling on to
mm,
whatever my idol is, people,
mm.
a job and money. Like I'm whatever my safety net is or whatever is comfortable, I'm not going to cling to that if
Man.
the Lord has called me out of that.
Mm,
So,
man, that's crazy that you say that. It's like just in life, I feel like there's so many things that God has just called me out of and pulled me out of, and that same theme of just go, get out. Like, are you going to listen to it? Are you going to be obedient? And if you're not going to be obedient, then we have to unpack why. Is it an idol to you?
whew,
And the last thing you want is for him to throw you away to your idols.
oh Lord,
That's the last thing. One thing I always say, I do not want to hear,
mm-mm,
depart from me, I never knew
never
you,
knew
you
you.
worker of lawlessness.
Mm-mm.
So understand when God is calling you, it's imperative that you're obedient. It's imperative. And
Yeah,
that's, yeah.
yeah. Thank you, God, for not taking your hand off of us.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I pray that you are edified by this. I pray that you you got a word from this. It touched your spirit in some sort of way. Thank you again, Shavonne, for being on this podcast. We're gonna have a follow up on this
Yes,
because the next time she comes back, she's gonna full out have her practice, her place, and listen, we gonna be promoting that. Clients, come on, she's gonna be accepted. So definitely, that's what we're praying for, and it's
yes.
truly a blessing. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So make sure y'all go like, subscribe, comment, follow Shavonne, follow her practice. Keep keep locked in because the best is yet to come. All right. Have a blessed day.